Gee, I can't wait till I go to hikes. Well,
Don't you say that. Don't you ever say that. Stay here. Stay as long as you can. For the love of
Wingtip.
Good afternoon. It is March 13th, 2019. You're listening to a Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Leanos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? A little bit chilly. Lent started last week. The beard has been gone for a week. Still getting used to it. I thought I was pretty committed on that until today. I saw a story. Man in Ohio, he's going on a beer-only diet for the rest of Lent. Not giving up beer, beer only.
Beer only. Wow.
Solids and liquid.
Do you think he'll have a beer after the Lent ends, or is this it?
I think he will. Little more to the story. He's not just completely a crazy person like I initially thought when I heard the headline or saw the headline. I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. The man does work at a brewery, and he's been inspired by the monks of the 1600s, who would make a special Bach beer for Lent. This is apparently a hearty beer. I've never really seen this before. I'm imagining some sort of like a stew situation maybe, but man, it's gonna be real tough. 40 days is a long time to not have anything to actually eat. So he's got a YouTube channel. So you'd be able to check that out, follow his progress. It's not just completely out of nowhere, but I say best of luck to him.
I say best of luck to you know, who am I to judge here? All right, go for it, man. If you feel like this is the right thing to do for your 40 days, you do it. All right, it is your decision at the end of the day, and if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not the right thing to do. If it feels right, hey man, all more power to you if that's what you want to do. I don't know. I don't think I can handle something like that though. That's pretty extravagant. I mean, 40 days is no short time period. But maybe he's already kind of on this habit of maybe this is his normal everyday life. I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt here. It is very wacky though.
Well, it's the larger concern for me. I mean, he's a brewer, so I'm sure he's got things calibrated a little more. But I'm just thinking, if you just have to have a certain number of calories, like how do you just not get too drunk to like be able to go to work and just to function in general?
Maybe it's non-alcoholic beer. I don't know. Maybe he's. I don't know if that's a possible
good call.
thing.
I didn't think of that.
I suppose you is there any food being consumed, or these are just all the liquid he's choosing? Like he's giving up.
Nope, giving up all food and drinks except for beer.
All food and drink. You can live off beer. There's enough content in there.
Tune in next week to find out if Dale Hall is alive or not alive.
Wow. All right. Well, hey, just out of curiosity, how did this guy get your attention? Is this like you're at church and this came up like or just out of
this was there was a Lent related article, and I read it at first that the guy had given up beer for Lent, and it's like, well, that seems like not that out of the ordinary. And then I reread it and realized, oh no, he's going the complete opposite way, and that really jumped out at me, and that seemed like something that the podcast listeners would be interested in.
Huh. Well, that is something interesting. We'll give you an update on how he's doing. We do record live every Wednesday, 3 o'clock. Make sure you tune in. That is Pacific Standard Time, not East Coast, so 6 o'clock for all you East Coasters. Feel free to check out our website, lcalcb.com. Listen to all the old podcasts, as well as follow Zach on his Twitter, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
All right, so we had a bit of a different intro today. We had a little funny Billy Madison skit, and if you haven't heard, there's controversy everywhere with the college application scandal. I've heard so many names for it already. I'm not even sure how to exactly phrase it perfectly. But if you haven't heard about it, we're going to give you a whole up-to-date on everything right now, as well as some of our thoughts and our questions on it all. from my understanding, more or less, there was a whole bunch of parents. We got like 50 parents right now that have in some
33 parents were charged. It was around 50 people overall.
and it's not. It's much more than just bribery. It's faking, like fake pictures, Photoshop pictures of non-student athletes looking like student athletes. It's with doctored SAT scores and just a bunch of assistants and all of that. Just
Faking disabilities.
Yeah, that one too. All right, you know what? Let's get into that right now. I think that was the first thing right now. So if you do have a disability, I don't know what they are or what it is, but there are ways. If you have certain disabilities, you can gain more time for certain standardized test scores or standardized tests, and you go to a separate room. And I guess that's kind of how they were able to find a loophole in the system, is that they would qualify for these, whether it was a real thing or not. We don't know that for sure. It sounds like it's awfully fake because of what ended up leading out off of it. Is they would go to these separate rooms. They would either not take the exams and have the proctor or whatever would either correct their answers at the end of it or just fill it out for them at the end. I heard 2 scenarios of that, which is just crazy to me already. I like, how is the system broken, or was like, this feels like this was too easy, or was this too hard? I don't know. And then the amount of money involved with all this. There's just so much to all this we can get into. But let's start with the standardized test thing right now. How relevant are standardized tests anymore? I've heard of some colleges even removing this as part of the application because this is going on so much.
I think that the country is still so big, and there's somehow got to be a way to kind of level set. Hey, what are you doing at your school compared to what someone else is doing at their school, to try to figure out, okay, are you about the same level of, are you going to be about the same level of aptitude as someone else? I mean, there's been all these studies that say that the standardized tests really don't predict that much anyway. But as of right now, I think majority it's still required. I think, like you said, that less and less are requiring it. I think it still helps if you do really well on the SATs to get into these upper level schools. Here's a list of the schools that I found in the articles that I was looking at. Feel free to add on. We're looking at Yale, USC, Stanford, Texas at Austin, and Georgetown. So these are not, your regular schools. Like these are some of the top programs, the top schools that people are trying to get into. And yeah, they were willing to pay all sorts of money. You were saying some of the ways that they did it was they sometimes that they would just give the kids the answers. Other times the answers would be corrected, or straight up someone else took the test for them.
Oh, man. Well, all right. So let's talk about some of the amounted frustration with all of this, and that is the fact that a lot of these kids took someone else's spot. I applied for colleges. You applied for colleges. I'm sure a lot of the listeners also applied for colleges. The application process is not a fun thing to do. It's very stressful. It's a huge amount of work. It requires a lot of effort. And then the stressing of the standardized tests, whether it's the practice PSAT or the actual SAT itself, these are not fun things to do. And then when you hear about somebody else that is avoiding this effort, all the work I just talked about, and bypassing it, and then taking your potential spot, whether it be a student athlete spot, or just a regular student spot, how infuriating would that be to you if you were denied somewhere and somebody else just took your spot? Because I'm still unsettled by all this. This is a crazy story. It's infuriating of it all, because I don't know if I agree with the entire college method of it all. I don't have a real big solution, but I had to go through it, and it was, to my understanding, a very fair game. It doesn't sound very fair after the story came out, though.
I think part of it is, like, did you really think that this was fair going into it? That there wasn't, if you were wealthy or some sort of legacy, that you had a chance to help out people that were interested? I wasn't like completely shocked by this. And you're saying, oh yeah, they took somebody's spot, which is true, but it was 33 parents, so say it's 33 kids. 33 kids. I mean, even at one school, that's a tiny, small fraction of the whole student body. It was more that the prices that they were paying for this.
Wow, that too.
It said they paid $15,000 to $75,000 per test, because you had to bribe either the test administrator, or you had to you had to probably pay whatever kid was taking the test some money as well. But that's just like 75 grand. That's at least a year of tuition right there.
Well, I mean, I think that's the immediate thing we can kind of transition to. Real quick, I just want to say, when I said that they took someone else's spot, the admission rates for a lot of the schools you just mentioned aren't very high. So that's kind of where it may not be that many people, but there's not that many people getting into these schools very easily anyways. Like nobody's getting in easy. It's all in every college, the cuts are very high. The percentage of people accepted aren't, and not everybody gets in. So there was a cutoff for it all. I mean, it's not a huge amount of people, but not a huge amount of people are really getting in.
The acceptance rate is low.
Yes.
Yeah, the acceptance rate. Yeah, the amount of people that are accepted is probably more normalized. But no, it's the acceptance rate, because a lot of people apply, and like I said, these are some of the best schools in the country.
Yeah. Well, moving back on to the large money amount in all of this. Doesn't part of you kind of think of, like, if you were willing to spend? I mean, someone just spent, like, what did you say, like $1.2 million on one of their kids?
Yeah, it said one parent paid $1.2 million to get their child into Yale.
All right. Well. All right. So I
hang out in New Haven, Connecticut.
All right.
That kid has got to be super disappointed.
You can look at this a couple of ways. All right. You can look at it as I spent $1.2 million into my kid because I'm viewing this college and this whole schooling system as an investment. My kid's gonna go there. They're gonna do great things after all that, and it's worth the $1.2 million investment. Or you could send them to anywhere else and then say, "Hey, man, you got $1.2 million to play with after." You know, I imagine a lot to get to the point where you have $1.2 million of cash available to spend on something like this. I imagine you are a business person. So don't you think it would have been wiser to use that $1.2 million in some sort of after business? I mean, they could have went to school anywhere else. If you don't get in somewhere, you can go anywhere else.
My thought is that it's not so much of, and I could be way wrong on this, but it's not so much what's going to make the kid the most successful. It's more of, I can tell my friends that my son got into Yale, and it's more of a status symbol. Because if you just give your kid $1 million, anybody else that's rich goes, yeah, I gave my kid $2 million. I could give him it doesn't matter. I have all the money in the world. But as you kind of mentioned a little bit, you kind of thought that this was a fair process. So you thought that you had to, play by the rules and you couldn't just pay your way in. So I think it's more of a status symbol.
Well, perhaps this is the bigger problem overall right now, is that this will go on your resume when you apply elsewhere, and we all know how much time the hiring process really spends on looking on your resume. It's like half a second that they're looking a quick glance, and that's it. So if they take a quick glance and you have Yale on there, I think most of us will agree that that's a pretty big advantage right there. So they're essentially buying that onto their resume. I mean, they do attend school.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, for all we know, maybe they were qualified. They were just bad test takers, which I hate defending all of that, but I do think there's a certain anxiety that comes with test exams. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It just mean you're not very good under pressure, but maybe you know the stuff. Like some of these students, I wonder kind of right now what the fallout's going to be. Some of them are still in school right now, and what if they're doing fine? What if they fit into their classes just fine? They're having a good time. They're working a little bit harder than the average person, but they fit in. They're making it work. I don't know where you fall in line right with all of that. I mean, do you kick them out of school?
Well, they said that none of according to the court documents, none of the kids knew that this was done for them. I don't know how that's quite possible across.
I don't know if I can believe that.
Quite possible across the board. I could see, if you were decently smart and you got maybe a better SAT score than expected, just being like, oh man, got a little bit lucky, but cool. But there's got to be at least one kid in there that was just like, there's no way. There's no way that, or knew if they were getting the answers, just knew, like, something like, this doesn't feel right, and then talk to somebody else in their class is like, hey, did you have someone kind of like helping you out a little bit? And everyone else being like, what are you talking about? No,
Or
this is a terrible way to spend a Saturday morning.
I heard a funny story about somebody who they took the PSAT and they scored, I want to say like 1100, right? And then they did the actual one, the actual SAT, and they scored, I don't know, like a 14 something. And then the student allegedly there's a I don't know who sourced it, but I read this article about the student saying, "Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll take it again. Maybe I'll do even better the second time." And then whoever was helping them was like, "No. This is your score. You're going with this one. You're not taking it again because if they take it again, they got to do all that again." So
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny that maybe there is some innocence to the student of being like, well, maybe I will take it again. You know, I only took it once. I think it's common.
Yeah,
for
I did
people.
pretty well. Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
You know,
I
maybe-
barely studied that much. Imagine if I had like really put in an effort.
Yeah, yeah, maybe imagine now that I know what the exam's like. You know, maybe I'll do a little bit better with some time management during it. You know, maybe I can do, something else with the practice and the experience I have gained of it. But for all I know, that's a loaded story. Anyways, maybe that's not true at all. Maybe that's just the defense of it. Actually, did you take it once or twice? Do you know? I think I took it twice.
Yeah, I took it twice.
I think I took it twice. I think
I
it's
think it was
pretty
just pretty
normal to take
standard
it
unless
twice,
you
right?
and yeah, to take the PSATs and then you take it unless you really knock it out of the park. It was one of those things of, well, it's not that much money and yeah, it burns one of your Saturday mornings, but it's something that's good to do because it'll help you to get into these colleges.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to spend the entire podcast on all this. I think we did a pretty.
I
decent
got
job.
one last, maybe not a last thing, but I got one more kind of major point of this whole story.
Okay, go for it, and then I'm
one-
gonna wrap it up with one more. Go for it.
Yeah, the FBI named this. It was Operation Varsity Blues. I thought that was fun. The way that this got on my radar, and I don't know if it's being advertised so much this way, or just because I'm more in the sports kind of area, and so that's kind of where I first saw the news more than like on CNN. But it was coming out as a sports college scandal. So I was expecting this was something to do with the. There's been a whole Will Wade and I'm blanking on the Arizona, the Sean Miller. I thought it was going to be, ooh, this is getting broken wide open, and this is going to be, the downfall of all the big college football and basketball programs. And then I look into it, and it's almost like the opposite.
It really
so another
was.
part of this was they were bribing the coaches to say, hey, we'll give you, and in one case, a soccer coach at Stanford received at least $400,000 to say, yeah, my daughter, you're recruiting her. Because at these schools, which isn't unusual, the acceptance criteria is a little lower because you're going to be playing college athletics. So I came into this, and yeah, like I said, thought this was going to be like a huge, this is all going to be about sports, but no, the complete opposite. And one thing about there were multiple coaches. Any coach that was still being employed by these schools has either been put on leave or fired. So the schools made pretty quick work, and this news just came out yesterday of saying, ooh, yep, we don't want anything to do with you, pretty much. But
It's totally right. It's funny. I think everyone did find this out a different way. I really, well, I don't understand why this Full House woman has suddenly become the face of it all. I don't think that's fully justified. I also don't think she's that.
Lori Loughlin.
All right,
I think that's how you pronounce it.
maybe I'm being a little bit harsh right now, but and I'm not even holding this against her. I'm holding more of her whole entire career. I don't know if she's that big of a name. All right, she's not even a main character in Full House. Right, she's a very
well.
She's
That's the thing is like the headline was celebrities, and then you look at it and it was Felicity Huffman, who I didn't know who that was, so I had to look that up, and she's on Desperate Housewives, and I had heard the jokes about Lori, and then it was like, oh, she was Aunt Becky on Full House, which I also never saw. But if you look at like the other quote celebrities underneath that, it was like a guy that worked for a financial. He was a partner for a financial company, and then there was a designer.
So yeah, there's two husbands. There's the husband that's a designer, and then there's a husband who's the actor, the Shameless guy, which is actually really funny because you haven't seen Shameless, but there is a a point in Shameless. This is no spoiler at all. It just kind of goes with it, where somebody does take the SATs for somebody else, and that's kind of his gig. He does that.
Oh man.
So that dives into that kind of. This is a fictional episode, all right, on a show Showtime
maybe
show
not
called
so
Shameless.
much.
Maybe not. Maybe this is where they got the idea from. Maybe I would love to see who's on the script writing of that. If this guy, the William H. Macy? I think that's it. I don't know. It's something like that. If it's not that, it would be really funny to see if this was his idea of a little tidbit to that episode or in that kind of period in the show of being like, hey, why don't you guys write something about this? I don't know.
Yeah, how do you come up with your material?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing that out there right now. But all jokes aside, you kind of talked about college sports, and then we got into the celebrity of all this. Really, what it boils down to right now is how important is college? Is this it's that important that you're willing to bribe all of this? Is that relevant? Because I actually think that a lot of people are having a lot of success without going. I think a lot of athletes are trying to figure ways to not go as well. And I'm not saying that's the right decision. I'm just saying it's increasing in a popular option right now, I think, for a lot of people. Is it this important? Is this even a fair question for me to ask? I don't know. It's a case by case kind of thing.
I think it's part of that the system that's been set up. I think that there's better ways of doing it, but I know that coming out of school, the roles that I was looking at, I don't think that they would have even looked at me if I didn't have a college degree. And I think that's for a lot of areas. I think certain spots are saying, hey, if you can get the job done, like they're willing to overlook it. But I think overall, do you have a college degree? And then like where I am now, as I'm getting farther along, it's also like, ooh, you can't move up into certain spots unless you have a master's degree. So I think that it still is important.
I almost feel like that's more important. I don't think just going to college is enough anymore. You have to go more. You have to specialize in something that's actually useful right now. I think there was a period in time, and perhaps I'm being naive at this as well, just saying, did you go to college? Yes or no? Oh, does it matter where? No, you just went because maybe there was probably a period in time where not that many people went. So it was like, oh yeah, they did all 4 years. Cool, good for you. At this point now, I think it's become so norm of everybody going for all 4 years that it's not even that impressive anymore. It is the standard step-by-step book that society has kind of laid out for us. But you need to add that extra year. You need to add that extra whatever. You need to add another major. You need to add something else because everyone else is doing it. I don't think it separates anybody quite as much. And with that kind of philosophy right now, I really question whether or not it's worth even wasting their 4 years on that if you're not going to do anything more with it.
It's something that I think a lot more people are looking into, especially with the prices of it continuing to increase. Is this worth it, or some sort of apprenticeship, or just some other option? Or like you said, if your parents are going to be giving you not specifically for this of bribing people, but of paying for tuition for 4 years, that's a big investment. Would we be better off just giving you this money and starting a business or starting something else,
or just hiring you? I like we just talked about some of these husbands and these celebrities in these big positions right now. I'm sure their kid could succeed elsewhere in all this. And I guess all right.
Well,
one thing that's really frustrating with all this too, though, is that these families do have the money, and there are families somewhere that don't have the money, and the kids that are in this crazy student debt are killing themselves to get to these schools, are killing themselves to pay for this stuff, are doing everything they can, busting their ass to try and do all this. And these guys are not only cheating their way in, they're probably going to be debt free on the way out, right? Like I think that's safe to assume that they're not paying for a dime out of all this either. That has to frustrate a lot of people across the country.
Because you're already paying a bunch more just to get into the school, not even until you pay the school. But you said you can just hire your kid or you go right, but if the kid, especially if the kid didn't know, the kid might not be interested in working. The kid probably wants to go to college for 4 years. College was a bunch of fun.
Yeah.
People both that's what I think, as well as that's also the view of on the outside of looking at college. Like in high school, it's like, oh yeah, you go to college, yeah, it's gonna be a bunch of fun. So I don't know, like, if it's the best to just be thinking, oh yeah, they just don't want to, they just don't want to go. It's like, oh no, we want to get you in here. We want you to be with your friends, or we want you to have, the best prestigious career you can have, and here's how we're gonna take care of it. And this will start you off, and then after this, you'll be set.
Well, that right there is the exact reason why you should work hard. If this is something you want, if you want something, you have to work for it. That's the entire point. That's the entire point of all this. If you want to go have fun and party in school and go to a party school, you better have a good enough score to get into this party school.
But you were saying, oh, maybe like they're bad test takers or such. What if they're working hard doesn't get them into Yale? I'm sure there's a lot of people that work their very hardest and did not get in. So it's not so much of a working hard sort of situation. I think, like I said before, I think some of it's a status symbol, and it's just, Johnny's going to Yale in the fall, and that's kind of part of it.
I mean, the other thing with all this is we're not that far removed from college. I mean, college was years ago from us, but you're a kid when you're making these decisions. All right, this is your first real world kind of experience right now, and you might have had a side job or something in high school, a summer job or whatever that gave you some real world experience, but this is the first time you're really going to experience what the real world denial is, and just that, like, life's not fair. You could work super hard for something and not get in. I think this is that first point in your life where you kind of really get that kind of that slap to the face and being like, whoa, yeah, this ain't easy. This is the real world. You're an adult now.
It's not the worst thing in the world.
No, it's not. But I think if you don't get that, if you kind of don't get that experience right there, like none of these kids did. They bought their way in, from what I know, or based on the stories that have been told. I think that's almost a disservice as parenting right there, right? I don't know if it's a bold statement, but I think there is some sense in it, Anyways,
go ahead. Bring it back around to sports a little bit. It was last year. I don't know if it was right around this time, or I think it might have been a little before, when the DeAndre Ayton wiretap with Sean Miller came out, where it's like it was implied or alluded to that he was given $100,000 to play basketball at Arizona, and that still hasn't been resolved or anything yet. But at the time, I seem to remember thinking, okay, yep, that's a substantial amount of money. But now it just seems like it seems so small compared to what parents are paying just to get their kids into the school. It just seems super easy. We'll just take the $400,000 that these parents paid to get their kid into the school, not even on the team, just into the school. And we'll for sure pay you a bunch of money because you're really good at basketball.
Oh, man. All right, last question. I need you to play the hiring manager right now. Are you hiring any of these kids? If you figure out who they are and they apply to your company, are you holding any of this against them? Say they graduate. What if they graduate with honors? Like, they do it all right. They get it all.
Yeah,
they can do it all.
It's for sure not a binary 1 or a 0. It would definitely be an interesting story. So you'd probably ask some questions. They're gonna have to deal with a bunch more now, and so kind of ask them, oh, hey, how did you use this to grow? How did you use this as this negative experience to create a positive one? Part of it too is, and kind of the joke has been, oh, look at these dummies, like they couldn't get into these schools. I wasn't getting into Yale. I was a good student, but I wasn't getting into Yale level. So it doesn't mean that these kids were just complete dummies. It just means they weren't at the absolute elite top of academics. So I think that's something that we've all been making kind of jokes about, but it's not like these kids don't belong in any school or in any job ever.
Well, one thing I think I gotta believe though is that when you do look at a resume, like I said, they bought essentially the college name on top. You have to take into account, especially if you went to that school as well as the hiring person, of how difficult it was to get into that school. Like, you've already overcome a lot, and then you finish the school as well. So if you finish and do the job, we already know how much it took to get in. I mean, we just talked about an entire half hour about how challenging and difficult it can be. I think when you bypass that entire difficulty thing and then you're credited with it, I'm going to have a hard time kind of kind of giving it to you. Even if you do a great job in the school, because we all know the hardest part about it is just getting in. Once you're in, the sky's the limit. Push yourself. You can do whatever you want in there. But not everyone's able to get in.
But in all honesty, do you think if mom and dad are paying this much for college that they haven't already? Wait, actually, hey, how much have they bribed me to give their kid a job? That's what it matters on.
I guess you're right. I guess these guys may just be skating through life, no problem.
They're already their life is already set. They're at a certain level that it's a bunch of it is just skating by if you want to just skate by.
Yeah. All right. Well, we just spent the entire opening half hour on all that, but there's a lot more here, and I'm sure we'll flash back to this story. Sadly,
it's a wild story.
I don't think this is the end of it. I think that there's more loose ends that are going to get tied up within the next upcoming weeks. I don't think it ends here. I don't think it's just these schools involved, and I don't think it's just these parents involved. I mean, the one guy that's already pled guilty that was kind of leading this whole thing, man, this guy pulled off like a pretty amazing stunts here, man. Like, he just knew every in and out and knew how to get around all this stuff so well. But obviously he's already pled guilty and all that. But I'm sure there'll be more of this to come. For now, let's transition back into the sports world, and let's talk about sports fans versus players, because this seems to be a popular topic, especially in the NBA right now. For those of you who haven't been keeping up to date, Russell Westbrook had an altercation, I think on the last podcast we talked about. And I think we both more or less applauded the way it kind of went and said very sternly that, like, fans cannot touch players. I don't care if you're a kid or whatever. You can't do that. All right. We already said that wasn't a thing. So this past, I want to say Sunday maybe this past weekend, I think it was, Westbrook gets into it verbally with another fan who there's a lot of expletives in there, not safe for work kind of vocabulary being thrown around. At the end of it, I don't know why this happened, but they interview Westbrook like they're supposed to, and then for whatever reason, there's an interview with the fan. They both kind of tell opposite kind of stories of like, oh, he just told him to ice his knees. Westbrook's, I think, wording was he told me to get on my knees. Not a very nice thing to say. Probably not the worst thing I've ever heard a fan say either, though. I think the fan ended up being in the wrong because there was witnesses, and now he's been banned from all Utah games and probably all NBA games after some witnesses, and as well as I think there's a video out there somewhere of the recording of the altercation of it, just saying you can't behave that way, you can't say things like that. And I feel like I'm not sure who's really in the wrong here. I think the NBA gives a lot of leadway for their fans, but at the end of the day, if you cross a line, you cross a line, right? I think that's how it's got to be. Like, we gave you all this leadway. All you had to do was just not cross this line, all right? We'll let you do just about anything. And if they don't ever acknowledge it, we'll let you keep pushing the line. But once you cross it and you get busted, you're done. You're toast. You're not going to win this battle. You got to protect the players. You're there to see the players. You're not there to see the fans. I don't know. Who's side are you on?
There's no winner. No, there's no winners in this one. In all, for sure NBA arenas, but possibly just like all arenas in general for live sporting events, they have some sort of code of conduct cards, and pretty much it kind of says like, hey, you can only act a certain way. If you're way up in the upper deck and you yell something, like, no one can barely, it's just your buddies up there and fans around you that can hear you. It probably doesn't make it all the way to the court, so they're not as concerned about that. But when you are that close, the players are right there. They're real, and they're enormous. And we're trying to avoid any sort of malice in the palace sort of situation.
They're also human.
So you're playing a game with a lot of physicality, and that already can be frustrating. So if you got someone that is yelling, those sort of things that you might think, because you yell at your TV is fine, but it's totally different to yell it in person. But Westbrook has been a professional for a long time. Usually doesn't get to this level, but a super competitor and an intense guy. But he can't be yelling back at a fan that I'm gonna F you up. I'm gonna F you up and your wife. It's like, you also can't do that.
No.
So I think that both parties are at fault. I don't think we're ever going to find out exactly what the what specifically was said. It's the he said she said kind of thing, and I'm fine with both outcomes. That Westbrook got fined $25,000, and that the fan got banned from the arena.
All right. Well, I think that this is going to have to be something. Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, is playing with fire now because there's been 3 scenarios right now where these fan altercations, 2 of them with Westbrook. I mean, the one with the kid, I mean, that seemed kind of fluky. These are the ones I think are the bigger problem. So that happened, and then as well as I think that same day or around the same time, there was a Knicks fan that managed to get his way to the locker room exit, like the aisle over there, the seats that like overlook the tunnel. And as the owner of the Knicks, James Dolan, is exiting, he tells him to sell the team. And for whatever reason, again, he could have kept walking. James Dolan probably hears crap from fans all the time. I mean, the guy is the owner of the Knicks. There's no way to not hear people, right? They're going to be, even if they were doing good, he's going to hear people saying stuff. Like, there's no way around this. But for whatever reason, he turns around and he kind of addresses the fan, and I thought in a very kind of calm yet threatening fashion. And then, maybe threatening's not the right word. He was very stern, though. He was strong with what he said. It was like, I think he said, I don't appreciate you saying things like that. And long story short, he ends up banning the fan from coming back. And I think the excuse they used was that he was in an area that he didn't have a ticket for. Which, again, the NBA gives you a lot. The NBA gives you a lot of leadway, man. Like, you can get in down over there, but if you get busted in somewhere you're not supposed to be, in all technicality, you were in the wrong, were you not? Or do you think that we need to toughen up Mr. Dolan here?
Like you said, keep it moving. It just seems like such a it's such a baby thing to do. Of the guy says sell the team, like you said. If he's not hearing this all the time, then it's what a lot of sports fans are saying, especially Knicks fans have been saying it for a little while now. But keep it moving, go on. But it just seems like such a wielding of power to be like, ooh, that guy. I don't like him. I'm gonna kick him out of the whole building. No, yeah. And he even adds like, enjoy watching the Knicks from your TV. And he was in a spot like he didn't have a ticket for it. It's like half the people I bet don't have tickets for the exact spot that they're standing in. I think you might have mentioned something like he was like the guy was stalking him, which that seems a little over the top. I think the guy was just by the tunnel, and that. You probably didn't even expect the owner to be around there. You even recognized the owner. How many owners could you recognize going along? It was probably over there. You're expecting to see players go through. That's probably who you want to see. And all he did was yell like, "Sell the team." No.
At least in the video, there's no
expletive. Not like the earlier story. There was there was no racist comments. There was nothing like that. That seems like a pretty standard heckle that you just kind of move along with and be cool with.
Well, I just think I don't think anyone's really realizing that everybody's in a pretty good position here. All right, you're a fan. You're in the arena. You're about to see your favorite team play. Can people just start appreciating some stuff here? All right, not everyone has the opportunity to really go to all these games. All right, they're very expensive to go. As well as just scheduling. It could be late night, depending on... There's just a variety of reasons that you would never get to an actual professional game. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people that go to every game every night and truly, truly appreciate it. And then you get these couple of guys, albeit, I mean, there's certain cases that I'm sure I haven't been in my best behavior in all of this, and sometimes you just want to have some fun. But I don't want another Malice in the Palace, but I wouldn't be upset if we had another one, just to kind of like reset the lines here. I think both sides are just taking advantage of what they don't realize how good they have it. All right, I don't think these fans realize that. I think
it was I think it might have been the Barstool guys, but just like I think maybe more people made the joke of just once a year a player's allowed to fight a fan. I mean, can't be all the time, but he just gets one freebie.
I'm not advocating for it, but you want to know how you stop all this? You do that right there, right? You let one guy. You can't have it happen. Obviously, it doesn't make any sense.
It's a joke.
But if I'm telling you, the quick fix to this is that if if you wanted to know. The other fixes I don't think ever really will work. I mean, banning fans and all that, I don't think that's enough of that. I think if anything, that might teach more. I think that's more of a challenge for fans now to be like, oh, I want to get banned. I know, let's see what I can get away with.
Yeah, doesn't that seem like the whole interview with the guy?
Yeah.
That
I don't understand why he had an interview. I don't understand why we know his name.
That seemed like a bad idea.
There's no gain of all of this. If anything, if you want to go ask the guy, ask him, but you don't put him on camera. Or I feel like they went to the Westbrook interview and then they cut to his interview like after, as if he was like as if he had some value into the game.
Like he was famous.
Yeah, like he was somebody relevant to the outcome of this game right now. This is just a fan.
This seems like it's like the same kind of area of when a streaker goes on the field. They don't show it because they don't want to encourage people to do it. And it kind of like you said, it just seems like it encourages like, hey, and we're in this culture that's very much how can I get famous? Not always for the best of reasons, and just kind of showed you, oh yeah, yell at one of these players, get into at least a shouting match, and you'll get an interview. Not even you'll get mentioned, you'll get banned. You'll get an interview on it wasn't national television, but like it basically becomes national with Twitter and social media. Right? It's pretty much national.
No, you're right.
International even.
Yeah, I think you're right, and not to mention, I mean, Utah has. All right, from my understanding, I'm not about to judge a whole lot of cities and teams and all that, but both Knicks and Utah have very good attendance ratings, from my understanding. So these are some very committed fans. These are some reliable fan bases right here that have been around for a while. These aren't new franchises. There's some really great fans in both of these, even though some of these franchises have struggled. They're still awesome fans. I think a lot of these guys may be ruining it for a lot.
This is for sure. Yeah, this is the rotten of the bunch out in Utah, and yeah, this is a small percentage for sure. Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up.
All right, well,
most people do go to the game and, like you said, have a normal time. Maybe heckle a little bit. You boo LeBron like you're supposed to, but yeah, you don't yell anything, and you go and you have a good time and you clap.
All right. Well, while we're on the topic of people trying to get famous, let's quickly talk about this Jaguar situation here. There was a woman. She was at the zoo. She jumped. All right, so just to kind of lay it all out, you're at the zoo. There's a viewing kind of pathway here. There's like maybe a 2.5 foot high concrete short wall in front of you, and then which you could walk over if you wanted to, which is what this woman did to get closer to the caged outlet where the Jaguar was. And she was trying to take a selfie, and of course, this Jaguar, thinking somebody's closer to me, whether it's either intimidated by it or was threatened by it or for whatever reason, felt the need to then attack this woman and got a little swipe, I think, on the arm. And by little, I mean this is a very aggressive animal swiping a very puny human. The human accepted all responsibility, as she should. I mean, this was her fault. She shouldn't have done this. It was all for a selfie, though. And they may have some major scarring and both mental and physical scarring. Let's leave it at that. And do you have any sympathy for this person? Should we have any sympathy for this person at all? Like, I feel like this person got exactly what they deserved. And I'm not saying this is what I wish would happen. But if you're going to play with fire, sometimes you're going to get burned, right?
I can agree. I can agree with both your statements there. She got exactly what was going to come. It was coming to her. Also, I can have some sympathy. Yeah, you took a risk. Probably in the moment, you didn't quite think it all the way through, and you thought, as you see animals, was just laying there. You think, it's just basically a big cat. It's been laying there. I've been watching it for 15 minutes. It hasn't moved.
It looks
nice.
I'll
go over there and I'll go over there and take a sweet selfie with it.
First,
it'll look awesome. Gonna get a ton of likes on Instagram, but yeah, also got attacked a little bit. Doesn't this almost make the story a little better? Now you got the selfie, and you can take the picture of the the cuts on your arm. Just hey. Look how cool I am.
That's the soundbite I should have got. You want to know how I got these scars? That's what I should have got right now. Because, but also part of me doesn't like that this woman is now.
Look how famous I am.
I hate that this woman is. I hate that we're talking about this, but I feel like it had to be brought up, and I really wanted to bring up the part that she did take responsibility for it, and her reasoning for it was a very justified reason of being like, this animal did nothing wrong. I don't want any activists coming out against this animal, saying this is a dangerous thing or anything like that. It was like, no, I was in the wrong. I was trying to be cool. It didn't work out. It was not this. It's not this animal's fault. All right. There's a reason. There's a cage there. There's a reason. There's a wall there. I chose to ignore that, and this is what happens. This is why that stuff is there. That is the real reason I feel like we're talking about this, or I wanted to talk about this this subject right there. This is not the animal's fault. I think,
what's the stupidest selfie you've taken or tried to take?
the stupidest one. I mean, all of them really, but I'm trying to think of
Not I guess I don't mean stupid like just selfies in general or just
what one where you
kinda
took a
stupid.
chance maybe.
I mean no. I mean like or maybe because I don't want to just focus on dangerous, but yeah, I guess I kind of just mean dangerous or like the most risk.
The most risk. All right, well, I'll tell you the one I didn't take, and it was last weekend on the chairlift. I wanted to take one so bad, but I was so scared of dropping my phone and then never finding it again.
Yeah.
So I'll say
Yes.
I didn't do it, but I will say like that was a time where I really consciously thought I don't want to do this because if I drop my phone, I'm gonna feel like an idiot.
I'll never find it.
But I know there's people somewhere who are absolutely doing that and have probably dropped their phone or dropped their glove or dropped their ski pole trying to hold too many things
for
with one
sure.
hand. I see. I'm
Oh yeah, especially with gloves and everything.
Yep. Because you can't work the phone. At least not the gloves that I got. I'm sure there are gloves that work with it. So just getting it all out, and then that was I'll say that was a scenario where I didn't take one out of fear of that happening. I can't think of an actual scenario where I took one. Yeah. See, I'm trying to think. Like I'm probably looking at my Instagram. There's definitely some selfies on there. One selfie that I got that was actually pretty cool. It was at Firefly Music Festival from last year, and it was the last act was going on, and there was fireworks that shot off in the background. And I managed to time this selfie where it got me in the frame, and then I got the fireworks in the background. I was pretty proud of that. But I'm ashamed to announce.
How's that risky?
I'm not saying it was risky. I'm just saying it's embarrassing how many takes it took because there was a lot of fireworks, and I did not get it on the first try. So I'm still doing this. I almost wish I should have posted all the bad attempts of me looking like, oh, damn, I missed it again.
I didn't smile in this one. Shoot.
Yeah, I'm more embarrassed by that than endangered by it, I guess. Do you have any off the top
I'm
for
sure
you?
This woman's when I went to the Final Four with our buddy Mood, similar to the New York Knicks guy, we were in an area that we didn't have a ticket to, which was as close to the court as we could possibly get. And just after the game ended and the teams had kind of left, but they're still doing some interviews, we wanted to get as close as possible, and we were pretty close. There was a rope going across to prevent, like, there was like a rope, and then there was then there was a little platform, and there were stairs because the Final Four, it's always kind of raised up. And the court was right there, and we were real close to trying to go over there, but there happened to be an usher right there, and he was eyeing us, and he even said something to us, like he could just tell what we were looking to do, so we didn't go. But I could easily see if the usher wasn't there, of us going on the court, not looking to do anything like run on the court or anything, just like stand on the court, take a picture, walk away. But I could easily see like somehow like that's trespassing, you got arrested. And the headline is like two Hicks get arrested for trespassing at Final Four, and it's like, oh, you guys are a bunch of idiots. Yeah, you got exactly what you deserve. Where it's like, well, I mean, we're just looking to get a picture real quick. Like, we weren't trying to hurt anybody. We weren't really
all right, but you're
trespassing. We weren't breaking anything.
No, but you are also documenting you doing something you're not supposed to be doing. I don't think that's talked about nearly enough in all of these photos. Like, oh, that's super cool you did that. Wait a minute. You're not supposed to do that. And then there's a scenario where you get hit by a jaguar, and it's like, well, I think that's social justice right there. Right? That's karma in a nutshell, right? That's how this is supposed to go. Oh man, while we're on the topic of actually, do you want to talk about podcast sneakers or the Warrior amenities? The Warrior one would be the easy transition, but it's up to you. We got about 12 minutes left.
The podcast.
The podcast. So yeah. Basically, there's podcasts that are being podcast studios are popping up in hotels. Is that the gig here?
Yeah. So
are they mobile?
The joke's kind of been that everybody has a podcast now, and part of doing a podcast for a lot of people is you got to find a studio. we're still doing it low budget. Yeah, you kind of got a studio going on.
No,
Not
we
like
have
official,
a
but
studio. We have a studio.
but you have
It's a
but you
bedroom
have
studio, but it's a studio.
yeah, you have equipment. I'm gonna say. So a lot of people they have equipment, but you go on vacation, you go out on the road, you're doing whatever, you're out of your normal space. You're still looking to do the podcast. So some of these higher level hotels are transferring certain rooms from just regular hotel rooms over to podcast studios.
The hotel's doing it. I just thought the people were just traveling to a hotel and be like, all right, this is a quiet room. Let's just do it here.
No,
oh man, the hotels are making wow.
Yeah. So some of them are even providing the recording gear free of charge. Of hey, this is a way to attract people to our hotel over other hotels, and I know that podcasts are gaining popularity and they're all over the place and about all sorts of different topics. And just thought it was cool that I had not heard of hotel podcasts before, but nope, that's a new thing in the past week that I've seen a couple articles about, and just seems pretty cool.
Really cool. That is really cool. It's
a
new target customer here for the hotels. I would have never thought of going to that approach. This could be big for them. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, me especially. It's a hard time finding not only a quiet place and a quiet time to do all of this. You know, it's taken some prep. We've overcome a lot over the past couple of years. Where I'm at now is by far the quietest room I've ever been in. But before this, you know, when I had to have the windows open, it was too hot or whatever. You know, we get some background noises. You can hear some street traffic or, you know, whatever other alley noises are going on. There's definitely a need for it. I'll agree with that. That's funny though.
I like the street noises. I like a little bit of the street noise. I feel like it makes us, you know, like we haven't sold out. Like we're still, you know, we're still roughing it out here.
We're still roughing it. I think our sound is as good as anybody else's. I mean, considering we're doing this remotely, for those of you that don't know, and for your regular listeners, sorry you got to hear this again, but Zach and I actually are never in the same room for this. We're not even on the same coast or the same time zone. I'm in San Diego, and Zach's in the East Coast somewhere. It's irrelevant. It's the less important time zone.
I'm right near all those cheaters at Yale.
I didn't want to say that, but that's kind of the first thing that popped in my head.
It all comes back around. All comes back around.
Yeah, and this is a pre-planned podcast. We script everything out from the very beginning. It always comes full circle. All of our podcasts end like that.
Don't go back and fact check that.
Do not go fact check that. But if you do want to go back and check it out, make sure you check out our website, lcalcb.com. You can check out all the old podcasts on there, listen to them all. There's also some old videos. We'll have a new video coming up, hopefully this week, announcing our March Madness Bracket Challenge. We are still ironing out the details on that. There's a lot on the table. Basically, what we're just having a hard time deciding on is what the bet consequence is going to be this year. For those of you that have missed the past years, last year I had to shave my legs, wear short shorts, and participate in a pickup basketball game. If you'd like to see the video of all that, it's online. Go to lcalcb.com. And the year before that, I lost again. Wow, I'm starting to see a little bit of a pattern here. What did I have to do the year before that? I don't even remember. Oh, it was the high heel race.
It was, right. Yeah.
I had to run what was a 40-meter dash or 40-yard dash or whatever in high heels. And if you'd like to see the video of that, again, look up a little of column A, a little of column B on YouTube. You can find the whole video.
I think originally it was supposed to be a sprint, but it was definitely more of a jog at best.
Whoa. You weren't there, for one. And second,
there were videos.
Yeah, that was as fast as I could go, all right? Whoever said I was that fast. I never claimed to be that fast.
That's what all of your friends told me. They said, hey, they pulled me aside privately. Like, hey, you know what?
Oh, that's
really just kind of
garbage.
Yeah.
That's garbage. All right, I slowed down at one point. I slowed down at one point, and I sped back up. Because I thought I was going down. I'll be honest. I did everything I could not to fall. All right, because if you fall, you got to get back up. You still got to finish it. And I feel like if I fell, I'd almost be like, oh, let's just record it again. I don't want this to be in there. So it was a one take, one time kind of thing. And so, anyways, if you haven't, I don't want to talk about my embarrassing stuff already here. We've already talked about how I struggled to get into college and all of that. All right, and I'm not able to go to NBA games. All right, yeah, poor me. Anyways, we are looking for a very fair along the lines of those two consequences of a bet consequence right now. Right now that's been thrown on the table is the loser has to wear a suit every day for the remainder of April, right? Because it would be which is totally fine. I'm not even against all that. I just know the timing for me is not very good. And I'm not saying it would be more convenient in my everyday life. It's just going to be really, really inconvenient while traveling. I'll be out of town for that Easter weekend there. And that's
what do you think would be more inconvenient? You traveling and wearing a suit, or me riding a motorcycle with a suit?
I'm actually going to say the traveling. I don't I got to pack suits now. And then I got to explain to everybody over there. I mean, maybe they're familiar with the podcast. I don't know. The thing is, I'm going to a huge Easter family gathering. And now I have to explain why I'm wearing a suit every day in Las Cruces, New Mexico. It's going to be hot, too. I'm not looking forward to that at all. But you know what? I think my main goal is
That's why I'm trying to get it done. That's why I'm saying for the rest of April, because it's not a full month, because the tournament's like a weekend, and it's only going to get hotter.
Yeah. I know. It's not going to be great out here either, just in San Diego in general. But I feel like I can at least I can come up with a reason to make sense of my career leading into me wearing a suit every day. Like
just tell people you're all business.
There's a justification there somewhere. I just don't see the justification of doing that elsewhere outside of it, because I won't be working out there and be like, oh, why are you wearing a suit? What are you working today? Like, yeah, I'm working. I got a real estate meeting in New Mexico for my San Diego real estate business. Yeah, it's very
Tell
important.
them you're living the Lance Stevenson life, born ready.
Very
happen at any point.
A very important meeting. It's a very important Skype call. It's like doing those Skype calls where they tell you to dress up in the whole interview. As if you were there in person. You got to be prepared. So that's been on the table up there. There's a couple other ideas that have been thrown back and forth, but we're probably leaning towards the suit thing. It just I don't like the timing of it. And it's not that I'm trying to bail out of it. I almost want to stall it another week. And just started in San Diego.
Trying to get rid of the situation from last year where it just like it's time bound, where it's like, hey, all right, this happens, everybody knows the results. Now it's the rest of the month, and not like, oh well, I'm gonna do this like at some point. It's just easy. It's over like a Band-Aid. You just got to do it right away, and it's over.
Yeah. The other thing I do like about it is, in you especially, and maybe me not as much, or definitely as much if I'm in New Mexico. Hey man, why are you wearing a suit? Hey, well, I do this podcast, and you get to tell everybody every time that we do the podcast, and then maybe
it's a way you have to bring up the podcast, but they asked you about it. Yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, and
for sure, people are going to ask you because you're going to be out on the weekends, and no one else is going to be wearing a suit, and you're going to be wearing a suit, and it's just going to and your buddies are all going to be around. Go, haha, yeah. Go ahead, tell them why.
Yeah, well, I think that, again, that'll be fun out here. It won't be fun with my family, who is like, why are you just being an idiot right now? Like, what is wrong with you?
You have to tell them. They'll know. They listen to the pod. They're going to know.
Well, yeah, all right. You know what? The real goal is that I'm not gonna lose this year, so I don't have anything to worry about.
Oh, look at that. Well, listeners, I'm also trying to rope Will into you have to wear a suit every day and grow a mustache. So if you like that idea, please get a hold of Will and tell him that that's an awesome idea.
Look, the mustache is a good idea. I don't think you realize how much time it really takes me to grow a mustache, though. It's gonna look really bad. It's like, I need a head start on this. I think I need to start today, just out of the potential chance of having to suffer through a mustache for the remaining weeks of April. I'm not even.
I thought you weren't concerned about losing.
I'm not, but I am. I'm very concerned about my ability to grow a mustache, which is not. I don't have one. I can't do that. It needs to be like a real head start. Otherwise, it's just gonna look bad.
It's gonna distract from people asking about the suit. I'm trying to help you out.
I'm all right with the suit. The mustache, I don't think I'd have a harder time explaining to the family. They'd be like, "Oh, is that a personal choice, or did you actually lose a bet?" I'm like, well, because the immediate thing is going to be like, you can't grow a mustache, right? And be like, "Yes, I know. I'm aware. All right, I wasn't able to do it last year. I'm not going to be able to do it this year. It's just not in my genes. All right, I don't know.
Oh man,
you know what's real funny is my dad had a mustache. My dad had a sweet mustache way back when.
Yeah,
and
you're getting real.
I'm getting picky.
Real picky.
I'm getting picky.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like it when I have to take hair off my body. Oh, I don't like when I have to put more hair on my body. I'm trying to find what works for you, buddy.
All right, no. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Are you doing what the interns are supposed to do? And that is find things that neither of us really want to do, And then you're hitting it right on the nail on the head, all right? You're doing it right. This is
Some,
exactly how this is supposed to go.
Some good news. I don't know if you've checked the bracket, the league in a little bit, but we've already got 5 people signed up. We're not even we still have like a half a week till Selection Sunday, and I haven't even signed up yet. We've already got 5 people. Our goal this year is to get over 100 people, get to triple digits. That'll improve on what we did last year. So
what did we do last year? 77?
Definitely looking for people to sign up. It's a free entry. Last year we could not find the winner. We emailed, we talked about it on the pod, we did everything that we could. Did not get a hold of us. So the prize is going to roll over. So it will be a $100 Amazon gift card, as well as you will get one of our brand new pod T-shirts. You'll get a chance to be on the pod. That is 3 prizes. No risk.
Yeah,
no risk. Not like us. We're taking all of the risk.
You gotta do the entire infomercial.
Get your friends to sign up. Have them listen to the podcast. It's all a package deal.
You got to do the entire infomercial thing. That's a $119.99 value, all included into one free entry.
It's way more than that. It's like $1,000 value.
Ah, you're right. I suppose it's of that much of value. Anyways, yeah, definitely go check out the T-shirts too. Merchbywill.com. You can go check out all the T-shirts there. Cozy Corner T-shirts, as well as Little of Column A, Little of Column B T-shirts on there. They're $19.99 a piece. If you are interested in getting a size, I recommend a size up for a more relaxed fit. They are a little fitted. So definitely go check those out. As well as check out soldbywill.com for all your San Diego real estate needs. Lots of good stuff on there. Lots of internet traffic on there. The site is constantly growing. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So definitely go check that out. Let's see. You know what? We've already capped out the hour here, but I feel like we got a couple of topics we can still get into here. Or do you want to kind of save these for next week? I do know next week we are going to talk about the March Madness net rankings and how they we're going to kind of wait for Selection Sunday and see how that all pans out. And then if you're not already familiar with the new ranking system and for March Madness that has been going on, we'll get into that next week. Again, we record live every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. Tune in at lcalcb.com for all the details there. What do you think? You want to keep going? You want to talk some NFL news? I feel like we can't not. No.
Let's cap it. We're an hour podcast. We've already gone over the hour.
All right.
Have to be more concise next time.
All right. Well, I'm gonna play the music out. We got about 2 minutes to get out here. Is there anything you would like to add then? This has been a fun pod, though. I will say it was a little bit more serious than the normal pod, but I had fun talking about it.
Oh, it was definitely fun. Just wanted, it was giving you a little bit of a hard time, teasing you a little bit. Wanted to give you some major props that you said Russell Westbrook every time, not Russell Wilson even once. You scared me because you said it right before the pod, and it stuck it in my brain. And I can't remember why it came up. I know because we talked about him last week. After the pod, we usually have a little, cool down conversation afterwards. I must have said Russell Wilson 3 times. And I'm glad that the podcast was over because I kept doing it. So you got that down, as well as every time that you say lcalcb.com, which is our new website, go visit. But our old website that had the WordPress in it, every time you say it, I hear the WordPress. You haven't messed up. Very impressed. You're killing it being the host.
Doing my best. All right. Go to these websites, by the way. All right. I feel like they're ingrained in your head. I know they are. Right. I think a lot of people, the second they hear my voice, they hear those websites, and that's exactly what I want. So go to those websites. There's a lot of good stuff on there. And so show your support. All right. I know. I appreciate everybody for always listening, but actually go to the sites. God, this is all going so well, and I just threatened everybody right now. Well, whatever,
Do it. Do it, or I won't be your friend.
I was doing such a good job. But the real lesson here is stay in school and work hard, and maybe one day you'll have a podcast in a hotel like everyone else in the country. But thank you as always for listening. This is Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Levinos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. We'll be back next week. Anything else to add?
Go Seas.
Go Seas.
little column A, little column B.